Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to Feni for the Soul. And in this run-up to the SKF Goa River Marathon series, we have two very fine marathoners from Mumbai on the screen with us. Hi guys. That's Girish and Arjun. Girish Mallya and Arjun Kumar from Mumbai. Both are ultra marathoners and very experienced marathoners, and you will know very soon where that comes from. So I am, without much ado, I'm really going to kick off by asking Girish first and then Arjun second. That will be the sequence right through. And I'll start off by sharing some photos for your benefit also, all of you. So I'll kick off by asking Girish. Girish, when did you personally start running? What is your background? Were you an athlete in college or school? And, how did you pick it up as?
So not really, as in during my late teens is when I started running. So I was running about 5Ks about 30 years back. So in my teens is when I started. And I've been running for about 30 years. Out of that, I think it's about 20 years that I've started running marathons and longer. So that's been the running thing. And, you sort of, initially you do the typical street races, city races. And then you move to adventure races, then you move to ultra races. So you're basically trying to push your body to do what its potential is. So that's been the journey. And, then you sort of graduate. So I've done some endurance cycling events. I've done some endurance swims. I've done some triathlons as well. So that's the usual progression I think all ultra runners or ultra athletes tend to have.
But what is it about running that gives you joy, let's say?
So running is actually a cure-all for me. So it's not just joy. It's how I unwind. It's how I feel good about myself. So if I'm happy, it's like how people use alcohol, right? If they're happy, then they drink. If they're sad, they drink. If they're unhappy, they drink. So for me, it's running. So running is like a cure-all thing which helps me with everything. And it brings amazing joy. So recently I had some flat-footed. And I recently picked up arch-related injury, so I have to wear medial arch support for the rest of my life. And it was really traumatizing because, it almost felt that, maybe I won't be able to run marathons and more going forward. But hopefully it's sort of sorted now. So that's how much it means to me.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for all that explanation, Girish. So Arjun, I'm coming to you. The same question really, that what is your background to running really? Tell us how you got into running in the first place.
So I've been running since 2009. So before that, growing up, I used to do karate. So I even competed at the state level. And then when I moved to the UK to do my PhD, I didn't have much time to sort of practice. So that's when I got into running. It was obviously we used to run as a part of the practice, and I thought this would give me some physical activity, and it was a good way, as Girish said, it was a good way to sort of unwind. If I was angry, sad, happy, if I had to think about something, it was like nothing like a 10-kilometer or a 15-kilometer run, something like that. So 2009 I started running. 2017 is when I transitioned into ultras and trail ultras. So at the moment I'm actually training now. I've sort of transitioned slightly into, and I've been training for an Ironman now. So hopefully I get to do it next year. I've had been registered for it the past 2 years, but because of the pandemic, haven't been able to do it. So hopefully next year I get to do it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So that's very exciting, that entire journey. Now the two of you really have, where you all stand out really is one being ultra marathoners, but you all have done successfully what is the marathon des Sables, which is started by the French, and it's in the Moroccan Sahara desert. And just for the the lay audience, it is a 251-kilometer ultra marathon spread over 6 days, and Wikipedia calls it the most difficult foot race in the world, So both these gentlemen have successfully finished it, and that is amazing. Now, Girish finished it in 2013. So I'll start with Girish. Also show an image of how difficult this race can be, and Girish, guide us through what the experiences were, and your personal experiences.
So I'll try to define the race. So there are all kinds of ultra marathon. There is a single stage ultra marathon, which is a crewed event. So where you have a crew with you. So Badwater would be an example of that, and which is also considered one of the toughest in the world. And the other one is multi-stage self-sustaining ultra marathons, which is what MDS is. So you basically carrying a backpack which is around 10 kgs with water, which is usually 2 packets, which is about 3 kgs. So carrying that weight pretty much throughout the race. They don't give you anything other than water, which is distributed across, during the day. You get it at different stages. And you have to manage within usually about, 12 liters of water. You have to manage everything. So 12 liters is what you get. And you carry your own food. So you have to carry 2,000 calories per person minimum. You can carry more if you want to. And what you're burning average would be about 5,000 to 6,000 calories a day. And so you basically lose muscle mass during the race. And the other thing is the race is very well organized, and your safety is taken care of. The year that I did, we used to carry a flare with us. So in case you get lost, you have one flare to sort of show your position. You're given a compass, you're given a anti-venom kit and things like that, because it's real desert, right? It's not artificially created landscape. But now I think they have GPS trackers for participants. It's a lot safer in that sense from a tracking perspective. And if for those who are interested, you could actually catch Losers is a series on Netflix. Episode 5 has MDS participant who was lost in the desert. His story shared there. So that's MDS.
Wow. Amazing. So, Arjun, you tell us now, what your own experience has been, with the MPS.
Yeah. So yeah, as Girish said, when I did it in 2018. They put little trackers on us so they could sort of track us. Yeah, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. I mean, it was a tough race, no doubt about it. But one of the best things about the race is that for 9 days you're in the desert and you're completely cut off from the entire world. There is no network, no mobiles. Obviously, there's no charging ports or anything like that. If you want to carry chargers or anything, you had to carry it, and that's additional weight. So you run for 5-6 hours a day, typically, and then what you do is you just interact with the other runners from world over. So that was one of the best experiences ever. Talking to like a lot of people, listening to their stories. Everybody had a good story, and because it's such a tough race, people who come there were all well trained, sort of. What I had was an additional challenge. When I landed a day before, or sort of a night before I was supposed to report, the airline lost my baggage. So, so all I had was my backpack and my shoes, because I was advised that no matter what happens, wear your running shoes and travel, because you might get everything else, but you will not get running shoes. And I was always told that there is always that one person who turns up without a bag. And in 2018, I was that person. So, but I did. It was such a great race, because, as I said, I went there without my luggage. As I said, I had only my backpack, my shoes. I was the only person in a 50-degree heat with jeans and t-shirt. So I went there and I spoke to a couple of people, and you wouldn't believe this. Within 20 minutes, I got everything that I needed, all the mandatory, including even running shorts and t-shirt, and food, everything for whatever I sort of needed. So it was because people always carry extra, and people are just happy to sort of give it to me to sort of help out. So I had that additional sort of challenge. It worked slightly in my favor, because as Girish said, you carry about 10 kilos because that's what what I had was bare minimum. So minimum your luggage, your backpack has to weigh 6.5 kilos. My bag weighs 6.7 kilos. That's all because I had literally the bare minimum. So it slightly worked in my favor, but what happened was I had very like less food than what I would have normally sort of carried. So, but I did manage through. So I trained well. So I did manage through. As I said, the experience was just fantastic.
Wow.
I'd like to just chip in with one additional
Yes,
point
Girish.
about MDS, which makes it really unique. So, which is slightly philosophical in that sense. So, MDS, the average age of participants is 45. Okay, just to set the context. So, you could say most of them are suffering midlife crisis, something of that sort. The other angle is that it's utopian world. There is no discrimination on gender, nothing. Uh, everybody is equal in the true sense. You could have an Olympian next to you. You could have somebody who's scaled, I had one person in my tent who was ex-Olympian from Indonesia. There's another fellow who has scaled all the mountain peaks in the world, the tallest in each continent. But everybody is equal. So you have people anywhere, you could change anywhere. There's nobody making you feel uncomfortable. It's absolute utopia in that sense. You're treated beautifully by everybody. Everybody's extremely kind and gracious to one another.
Fantastic. I'm very tempted to find out what kind of training went into going into the event. Meaning, how many months did you all train, and typically, what was the daily training schedule? That will be very interesting to listen to.
So, Arjun, you want to go first this one?
Okay, fine.
He's a more later edition. He's a 2018 edition, so he can. Okay. Arjun, follow.
Yeah. So my strategy was because I had to train for the weight. So I bought this a weighted vest, which was like about 10 kilos from it was like a weighted vest. I used to carry that with like 2 liters of water. So that's what my sort of training was. Obviously, I didn't start with 10 kilos. I started with 5 kilos and then slowly graduated to sort of 10 kilos and then so 12 kilos. So all my running, everything was with the 12 kilos. I started training actually about a year before in April the previous year. So that gave me plenty of time to train. So yeah, I that's, and my daily schedule was just just wake up, put that on. It was a dual thing for me, a strength train as well as getting in the miles. So wake up, just run, and then I was just focused on doing the miles. I did not, obviously no desert simulation, so that was left. People, I could have gone to sort of Rajasthan, but there was take the west and sort of climb my building as well to sort of get sort of vertical distance and getting my legs used to sort of climbing. So that was sort of my typical training.
How many, Girish, focus on how many kilometers one has to put in on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I'll give you. So my journey was lot more challenging because at that point in time I didn't know any other Indian who had done it. I tried blogs, forums, nothing. So my only help was somebody whom I'd known from one of my previous the Leh Ultra, which I had done. Not the current ones, but there was one done by a French agency which had international participants in 2010. Is when I knew about this race, that this thing existed. And one lady, Bridget, is somebody who had initiated me into it. She's done MDS 3 or 4 times. So she said, you should do that race. You're just perfect for that race. And it took me about 2.5 years to train for that race. My training was a lot more different because it was more a lifestyle change. So I actually got into endurance cycling so that I could simulate there is one stage, which is the long stage, which is a 70 to 90 kilometer overnight stage. So how do you stay awake and alert for 20 hours when your body is pushed to the limit? So I did that by doing a 300 kilometer bike ride. So for each aspect of the race, I picked up something. So I started sleeping on the floor for as a prep for the last 1 year before the race. So eventually when I went for the race, I actually was very comfortable because I had simulated everything. And being in Bombay, I ran on the beach. And so most of my runs would be, so even now I run any time of the day. So I could do a noon run, everything. That's part of MDS training, where you are sort of trying to simulate that. In terms of distance, so you sort of do it like the way you prepare for a race. The only thing is what you have to focus on is recovery, right? Because you're sort of doing the effort of one marathon a day back to back. So that's what you need to simulate. And the bigger challenge is recovery. So what I did was I did 20 kilometers a day for 15 days. So every day I would do 20 with a working day. So I would do 10 in the morning, 10 in the evening, depending on how much time I had. And that's how I sort of simulated the recovery bit, because recovery is the real challenge. Next day, your legs need to be fit enough. Most of us, after doing a full marathon, next day you're, having cramps and things like that, which should not happen here. So that's sort of the training that I went through.
Wonderful. Super. Great. I think it's very inspirational. So by now, how many Indians do you think have finished the MDS? Would you all have an idea roughly?
So I found out one lady who was there before me, who was sort of mixed origin. So she's there, I'm there, Arjun is there. I think somebody else was there during this year as well.
Yeah, there was one more guy who was there with me during my event.
There are a lot of NRIs. We are talking about Indian.
No, I'm talking about Indians residing in India.
Yeah. So I think about 5. My guess would be there would be one more, 5, 6 maybe.
Okay. Yeah. So that makes it so unique and praiseworthy. Well, because Girish, you mentioned it, I want to bring this up also. That you had sent me a Guardian link to a Guardian article. So before that MDS has a 9 out of 10 finish rate. When 90% of the athletes finish the MDS because they come so well prepared. But this year there was disaster, I think more because of pandemic and whatever else, and the organization also came apart a bit. So only 50% finished the race, and there was even a casualty. Sadly, one runner even died of a cardiac arrest. So would you like to comment on, let's say a bit of the harshness of the terrain and what it takes?
Sure. So I'll just give you one example which sort of sets the context. So people have hype. So usually the race takes place in April, and this time it was September, October. So people are suggesting that this is not the ideal weather. See, there is no ideal weather in Sahara. You could have 50 degrees even in April, and there have been 50-degree races. And to give you an example, during my year, the reigning champion, she was the brand ambassador for the race as well, who's finished first 3 times before the edition that she did. Her body overheated at stage 3. So somebody who's won the race can get it wrong. So there's one athlete who's a local athlete. He had overtrained his body. His body shut down on a particular stage. Body shuts down. So that's to save you from dying, right? So if you push your body, because most of us can push. I know runners who finish the race with a fracture. Okay, so people push their boundaries a lot. I totally trust the organizers, absolutely. Just to give you an example, right? They have thought of every eventuality to the T, including missed baggage. They give you, during my race, my year, they allowed you one drip a race during the race. So if you require a second drip, you're disqualified. But if the race conditions are very tough, they would increase the drips to 2, 3, 4 or unlimited. So they do those things. Water is usually 12 liters per day. But if the weather conditions are extreme, they would give you more water. So if things change, they could shorten a course as well. Because every year the course changes. You cannot prepare for that course. So every year it changes significantly. So these guys have thought of every eventuality, and they have backup. It's in its 35th year or more. So, they're very well organized. So I sort of don't bias it. If you don't feel you're ready for it, you can always opt out. And they will never let you risk your life if they feel that and cardiac arrest could happen with an Ironman or a full marathon as well. So we can't really control that. So I would not judge.
Girish, can I add something? So
Yes,
like
Arjun.
Girish said, during my race, when we woke up on the long stage, the day of the long stage, it was very hot, so hot that they decided to give us 3 liters of extra water. And in my tent, there was this guy who was running. I think he went too hard, and because normally when we used to come into a checkpoint, there was always somebody who would ask us how you are, and probably he didn't look well, so they took an ECG, like they did an ECG, and they decided that they to pull him off. They said he's not fit enough to continue because his ECG was slightly off, so they just pulled him off. So
Wow.
they are very careful about that. So if they think that you don't look physically, then they take you out for a checkup, and then if the results are bad, then they will just pull you out.
Good to know. Good to know. Fantastic. So, finally, thank you for all these inputs, because I myself didn't know much about the MDS, so thank you for that. And last question really is, you all have been coming to Goa very often. And what is special about the Escape Goa River Marathon? What do you all like about it the most? So Girish first and Arjun next,
Sure. So I've been doing, so there are only 2 races which I've done repetitively. As in, I usually do any race once, maximum twice. But Goa River Marathon and Bombay Marathon. So Bombay, I've done all editions from the first edition. I've done the full each time. Goa is something where I did the first edition and I've done most editions. 2 editions I couldn't because of some work-related things. So the beauty is the place, right? As in, Goa is a great place to holiday. So I invariably go with a bunch of friends and we stay together and we party through the weekend. And morning we just do the race and the party continues. So for us, it's more a celebration. The Goan spirit, the food, the beer. So it's more a carnival kind of thing. And to give you context, I've done a wine trail marathon in Bordeaux in France. So maybe someday we could actually have beer stations during a Goa River Marathon race as well. And the organizers are wonderful. And I'm not saying it because you're related to the event, but genuinely very warm. It's not a commercially organized race, which does not care for the runners, and they're just trying to. Here they really want you to enjoy it. So the effort involved, and I think one of the few races in India which has beer at the end. So that's something which I would want them to continue always. At the finish line, after you finish your race, you sort of enjoy with a beer.
Absolutely. Well, it's a USP they are going to continue. Don't worry. So Arjun, what is your take on the Escape Goa River Marathon?
So actually, this is going to be my first year running the Goa Marathon. So all the good things that Girish just told, I've heard about it a lot. So I thought I just wanted to run it, and and this was a time that I was able to. Normally December I'm not able to because of work commitments. So this time I was free, so I said I can go and experience the Goa River Marathon. So hopefully I'm from what I've heard, and now as what Girish said, I'm looking forward to it. I didn't know about the beer, but now I'm looking forward to it even more.
So I think Arjun is going to hit the finish line much faster than he had planned. So we are going to have a sprint at the end.
And you really enjoy the beer because it's quite it's like Bombay weather. Yeah. So it's humid, muggy. It's near the coast, so it is. So you really enjoy the beer after the race.
It goes down very quickly. Yeah. After you have finished with the physio tent. We got a very good physio backup also.
True. And there's motivation because then there's no queue. If you finish early, you get your beer right away. So, extra motivation to finish early.
Finish early. So I'm personally doing a half marathon this time. So I'll see you both there. And anyway, we are waiting to catch up with you guys in Goa. So welcome to Goa. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye. Thanks.